You've likely felt this before. Something important needs to be done. You know you have to do it, but you keep putting it off, procrastinating. You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow or later, and then time just slips away. Many people looking on would think, oh, they're probably just lazy. But have you ever wondered if it's always about laziness? Or is there a hidden fear deep within that procrastination? The fear of failure. Today, we're going to talk a bit about this, about the complex emotions behind procrastination, the fear of judgment, and the feeling of not being good enough. Procrastination, when it's not laziness. We often equate procrastination with laziness. It seems logical. If you're not working, you're lazy. But in reality, it's rarely that simple. Sometimes, you procrastinate, not because you don't want to work, but because you're wrestling with complex emotions inside. You might feel exhausted, anxious, or even paralyzed by a certain fear. Imagine this. You have an important presentation due. You've spent a lot of time preparing, and you know you're capable. But as the deadline approaches, you feel a growing heaviness. Instead of finishing up, you watch movies, scroll through social media, or do irrelevant little tasks. Others might see you wasting time. But actually, a different battle is raging inside you. That battle is fear. This isn't just an individual phenomenon. It's a common psychological state affecting millions of people worldwide, from students to seasoned professionals. Even those who seem most successful can struggle with it. The important thing is for us to change our perspective on procrastination. Instead of viewing it as a moral flaw or a lack of willpower, let's see it as a signal from within, indicating that something needs to be heard and addressed. Procrastination is often less about poor time management and more about emotional management. The invisible fears behind procrastination. So what is this fear? It's not a tangible monster, but a vague, simmering feeling that has the power to paralyze our will. It's like an invisible rope tying your feet, preventing you from moving forward, even when your goal is right in front of you. The fear of judgment, society's mirror. This is one of the biggest and most common fears. We are social beings, and the opinions of others often profoundly influence how we see ourselves. We worry about what others will think of us if we don't do well. What if I fail? Will people laugh at me? Will they think I'm not good enough? Will they look down on me? The pressure from others' expectations, whether real or just what we imagine, or even the expectations we place on ourselves, can become an enormous burden. When this fear is too great, doing nothing at all paradoxically becomes a safe option. Because if you don't do it, you'll never fail. And therefore, you won't be judged or criticized. While this also means you'll never succeed or progress, deep down, avoiding failure and judgment seems safer than taking the risk. You're protecting your ego from potential harm. The fear of not being good enough, imposter syndrome, the whispers of doubt. This feeling emerges when you achieve something, whether it's a success, a position, or a skill, but you constantly fear that you don't deserve it, that one day everyone will discover the truth, that you're not as talented as they think. You feel like you're deceiving others, that you're just pretending to be capable. With this fear, every new task, every challenge, becomes a test of your abilities. If you don't perform perfectly, it will be proof that you're not good enough as you want to be, or as others expect. Procrastination becomes a way to avoid confronting that truth. If I don't submit the report, no one will know how bad I did. Or, If I don't start this project, I won't have to face the possibility that I'm not as good as my boss thinks. This is a vicious cycle. The more you procrastinate, the more anxious and self-conscious you feel, reinforcing the belief that you're not good enough. The fear of perfection, the trap of excellence. Paradoxically, the desire for perfection can be one of the biggest drivers of procrastination. You want everything to be just right, absolutely flawless. You spend countless hours meticulously planning, researching, and tweaking, believing that the end result must be impeccable. But because true perfection is an elusive ideal, often unattainable in the real world, you keep delaying the start or keep endlessly revising, tweaking, and refining, never truly feeling ready to present your work to the world. The fear of not reaching that impossible standard paralyzes you. You think, if it's not perfect, it's not good enough, leading to a cycle of endless delay and self-doubt. This isn't about laziness. It's about a deep-seated anxiety that anything less than perfect is a failure. You'd rather not start at all than produce something that doesn't meet your impossibly high standards. This often leads to missed deadlines, unfulfilled potential, and a constant feeling of inadequacy. The fear of success, the shadow after the spotlight. Sounds strange and hard to believe, right? Who would be afraid of success? But sometimes we unconsciously fear our own success. Success comes with attention, with more responsibilities, and with higher expectations from others and from yourself. If you succeed, you'll have to face the pressure of maintaining that performance. You fear that you won't be able to meet new expectations, or that you won't be able to keep up the good work. Furthermore, success can change your life in ways you don't want or anticipate. It might require you to step out of your comfort zone, to face new situations, new relationships, or even to lose your current privacy and comfort. Procrastination keeps you in a familiar zone where everything remains the same without too many new pressures, and life unfolds according to a known script. You hold yourself back to avoid facing the consequences, even positive ones, of a big leap forward. Healing the fear, gentle steps. So, how do we overcome these invisible fears and stop procrastinating? This is a journey that requires patience and self-compassion, like gently untangling a complex knot, rather than pulling hard or cutting it. Identify the fear. Name what's holding you back. Light for the darkness. The first and most important step is to realize that your procrastination isn't always due to laziness. Ask yourself honestly, without judgment, what's truly holding me back? Am I afraid of something? Be truthful with your emotions. Are you afraid of judgment? Afraid of not being good enough? Afraid of not meeting someone's expectations or your own? Naming that fear is already a small victory, a breakthrough. It helps you understand yourself better, the root of your behavior, and that's the beginning of change. When you name it, fear is no longer an invisible ghost, but something concrete you can face. Break down the task. Turn mountains into hills, conquering small peaks. A large task can feel daunting and overwhelming, triggering the fear of failure even before you start. Instead of looking at the entire towering mountain, break it down into smaller, more conquerable hills. Completing each small step will create a sense of accomplishment, a little dopamine boost for your brain, building confidence and reducing overall pressure. For example, instead of saying, "I have to write this entire 50-page report," say, I'll write the introduction today, just 200 words. Or, I'll find 3 sources in 30 minutes and list them. When you achieve these small goals, you'll feel more capable. And that's the motivation to keep going. Aim for good enough, not perfect. Release the pressure. Accept that good enough is often much better than perfect, but never finished. Loosen your grip on perfectionism, at least in the initial stages of a task. Remember that progress is more important than perfection. Instead of trying to create something so amazing that you never start because you fear falling short, aim to simply get it done. I'll make this presentation good enough to send by the deadline. It doesn't have to be the best presentation in history. When you reduce the pressure of perfection, the fear of failure will also significantly decrease because you've allowed yourself to make mistakes, to be imperfect. Focus on the process, not just the outcome. Enjoy the journey, lessons from every step. Instead of obsessing over the final result and what others will think, shift your focus to the process of your work. See every step, every effort, no matter how small or imperfect, as an opportunity to learn and grow. Failure isn't the end point or proof of inadequacy, but an essential part of the learning and growth process. Everyone successful has failed many times. Celebrate your efforts, the skills you learn along the way. No matter what the final outcome is, this helps you develop a growth mindset where you view challenges as opportunities to learn and improve rather than threats to your self-worth. Practice self-compassion. Be your own best friend. Embrace vulnerability. When you procrastinate, don't criticize or scold yourself harshly. Self-deprecating words will only amplify your fears. Instead, treat yourself with the kindness and compassion you would offer a struggling close friend. Speak words of encouragement and comfort to yourself. I'm having a hard time with this, and that's okay. I'll try little by little, and I'll get through it. Understand that fear is a natural human emotion, and the fact that you're trying to face it is something to be proud of. Self-love is the foundation for all healing and growth. Seek support. Don't go it alone. The power of connection. Sometimes, these fears are so big and deeply ingrained that we can't effectively face them on our own. Don't be afraid to share your feelings with a trusted friend, a family member, a mentor, or even a mental health professional. Being heard and understood without judgment can bring immense strength. They can offer you a different perspective, helpful advice, or simply help you unburden the weight that's pressing down on you. You don't have to carry everything by yourself. Seeking help is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of intelligence and courage. Start today, even just a little bit. Procrastination isn't always a sign of laziness. It's often a signal of underlying fears. The fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of perfection, and even the fear of success. When you understand this, you'll stop blaming yourself unnecessarily, and instead, you'll be able to begin a conscious journey of healing and growth. Life is a continuous learning journey. There will be times when you fail, times when you're not as good as you want to be, times when you stumble, but those aren't endpoints. They're just resting stops for you to learn, adjust, and become stronger. Your worth isn't in how perfect you are, or whether you've never failed, but in the courage you show when you dare to start, dare to face your fears, and dare to get back up after every fall. You are not a product of your mistakes, but the sum of what you learn from them. Start today with the smallest task you're procrastinating on. Don't think about this grand outcome or others' opinions. Just do one small thing to break the cycle of procrastination. Even if it's just one sentence, one bullet point, one short phone call, or opening a document to read one page. Every small action is a courageous step forward, an affirmation to yourself that you are strong enough, good enough, and worthy of all the wonderful things waiting for you. Believe in yourself. You can do it. You deserve to be free from the burden of procrastination and fear.